Hi, this is Jennie Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. This is part 2 in a series on how to open a consignment shop. Today I want to focus on social media. Social media was very important to our business when we were opening up our luxury consignment shop. It was something that really was out there when we had a very limited, almost non-existent advertising budget. And as a new business that was starting from scratch, we had to get very creative about how we were going to get the word out about our new business. I can tell you that when our store opened, the first 3 days officially that we were open, and we say officially because we had a credit card machine, so we could actually take a sale. So we were open, and for the first 3 days, no one entered the store. So into day 3, I'm thinking, what have I done? What was I thinking? This is probably a terrible mistake. But that was not the case, as it turned out. But those early days are really, 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 really scary when you are a brand new business. And there's so many things one can do when they're a new business to get the word out, and that's what we want to talk about today. So social media was an immediate go-to one because it's quote-unquote free in the sense that you don't have to pay to use these services, or at least basic functions of these services. Although you are paying in your labor and your time, of course. So I went out there and set up Twitter pages, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Made sure that the consignment shop was on the top 20 online directories you could be on, such as Google and Bing, Foursquare, MapQuest, and Yelp was one. And I really want to talk about Yelp here today. Yelp is a really interesting platform because if you do a Google search and you search for consignment shops in Pasadena, California, you're going to get your Google results first, and second, you're going to get Yelp. That's just the way it's set up. Yelp has done a really good job in ensuring that they are the second set of results that you see after Google's own results, and they have a wonderful way of listing the businesses in great ways, like top consignment shops, area consignment shops, best consignment shops. I mean, every term you can think of is out there. So what we learned was by creating our free profile on Yelp and putting ourselves out there was a hugely helpful way to get the word out. Now, I was terrified of that first bad review, of course, worried I was going to get one, and so focused on, OMG, what am I going to do? Because I had been on there and read some of the many reviews that other consignment shops had gotten, not only in Pasadena, but in the LA area, and some of those were brutal, and without naming names, there were some things I was just shaking my head thinking, this isn't possible. I mean, this level of poor service that I'm reading about can't be possible. But if you've got about, say, 50 reviews and half of them are negative, then there's old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. So there's something up there. But it just shows you how powerful the individuals are these days. That we have the power to talk about our experiences on Yelp, on YouTube, on Twitter, any place we want to do it now. So it really puts you in a position to ensure, be on your toes about your service, and know that if you let your guard down for a minute, that could very well be the moment when someone comes in who is very Yelp friendly, which I learned about firsthand. So what we decided to do is when people came into our store, we have an email list they can sign up on, but we did have a section we added on where did you hear about us? And we would strike up conversations with people and try to learn, were they just walking by? Did they find us online? And the majority of the people who were coming into our store in those early days had done a search on Google, and they had found the results either on Google directly or through Yelp, and came to our store. What was interesting is over time, when we got our first Yelp review, it was a complete surprise. I was just being my normal self whenever that was the day, and then I got a notice one day that we had gotten a Yelp review, and I was just thrilled to get it, and more thrilled that it was positive. And the person who wrote it, I was just helping them like anyone else, and they took the time, which is extraordinary, first of all, to let the world know about their positive experience. And, I was so excited, and, it's not like I had asked a friend or anything, like, hey, write me a review. I didn't do that. I mean, this was a real customer with a real experience in our store. So that's why it had meaning, and I think that is sincerely the power of Yelp, because it's organic, it's real, it's sincere, it is what the people experienced, and so that was very powerful for us. So we were very mindful of that in those early days, and Yelp has been a huge help to us. And over time, I mean, we've been open. It will be 2 years in August 2018. Will be our 2-year anniversary for our store. And Yelp and Google searches has been a constant. It's been an ongoing and constant reference that people have made to how they found out about us. Obviously, there's word of mouth. Obviously, there are people who are walking by. But so many people found us because consignment is a destination business. When you're traveling, when you're going to a new city, and you're going to ask yourself the question, where are the consignment shops in town? And the way to answer that question these days, we're not thumbing through phone books. We are going online and we're Googling it. So that's how powerful that is. Yelp, you can advertise on Yelp, and we did do that for a period of time where you can, click through advertising, where you can have an ad at the top, and that certainly was helpful for us. We did that for a period of time. We are not doing that currently, but while we were paying for those ads, those click-through ads, it worked. It definitely brought people to our store. It definitely helped get the word out, and it definitely had an impact. So Yelp is one of those that I highly recommend. If you've not set up your Yelp page, I definitely would suggest that you do that as a new business, or as one of the things that you do starting out as a new business, is just have it on your top 5 list of things to do online. I think Twitter has been not very effective in driving people to our store. I mean, I've seen almost no impact from that. I don't think there's anything wrong with Twitter, and if you've got the time to get the word out on Twitter and build a following there, I think it's great. Where we've used Twitter is Twitter. Gotta be able to speak tonight. Where we've used Twitter has been as like a link through to when we have a newsletter come out. For example, we push our newsletter out to Facebook and to Twitter automatically, so that's content that we can have out there. So in that sense, we use Twitter. We also use Twitter pushing out the content for this podcast. So Twitter, I think, is really good for it's almost like, to me, a secondary way of informing people. And in no way would I put Twitter on the top of my list in things to do out there. So as long as you use it and then you've connected it to your website and you've connected it to your newsletter and things that you're doing, I think it's absolutely a fantastic way to build a following like that. But Facebook, for example, has been really, really useful for us. We connected a number of things to Facebook so that when we would post a particular thing, it would show up there. So I'm pretty sure like Twitter and Facebook are connected, things on our newsletter are connected. Like there's all these things that we've connected together so that we aren't always having to put original content on each and every platform, which really helps become efficient. So Facebook, we did some ads. We had an event recently, and I spent, I think, $20, $30 advertising an event of ours to women in the local Pasadena, LA area who were interested in topics around our event. And we got followers on our Facebook page. We got new followers, but it's really not clear to me that any of those people that followed our page because of that $20, $30 actually came to our event. And I think that's a real interesting thing to notice, because if you think about it, it's like charity fundraising, which I've done a lifetime of that. I mean, if somebody's having an event at a nonprofit, you're not going to go probably because you just read about it in the paper. You're going to go because your good friend asked you, or someone that you know, or someone that is dear to you who's, say, afflicted by some cause that this nonprofit represents. You're going to go because someone informed you personally and got you to go to that event. And so that's like fundraising 101. And I don't think it's much different for what we're doing here when we're building our business and our customer base. It's really, when I analyze the people who came to this special event that we did, they were customers of ours. It was our good customers who were excited about, wine and cheese and munchies and a really cool event. And those are the ones who came, and they not only came, they spent the most. So while there were a few people who found out about our event on Instagram and through other sources, primarily the people who came and purchased were already customers of ours. Instagram has been something that we've used, I think, fairly effectively. I think the problem there for us is that we don't use it every day. And I think with all of this social media, and even regular advertising, there has to be certain number of impressions before someone remembers. And it's no different with social media. So the fact that we use it sporadically and not every day, I think impacts how effective it actually is for us. So it is effective. People do find out about us on Instagram. They search our hashtags. They ask us how much, say a Louis Vuitton bag is, or something else that we've listed. They'll ask us what size. They, will really want to find out about it. But in terms of actually selling on Instagram, we have yet to have someone who purchased via Instagram directly. And what I mean by that is sometimes people, when they have a question about something that we've posted, and if they're local, they'll just come into our store and look at it there. So we had our big Instagram moment very recently, and it goes to show that the power of Instagram can sometimes be in your use of it at all, even if it's not on a regular basis. And I highly recommend people using it on a daily basis, but if not, use it whenever you can. So what happened is Jennie Girl's Closet, which is my resale store, is also through which I do styling. And I've styled people for major red carpet events, music videos, stage, etc., fashion shows. And because of that, I have a pretty extensive inventory of things to pull from to actually style people with. So I don't necessarily have to go out and buy something from an outside source. I already have so much already within my inventory that I already own that I can work with. And the event we had at Walker Vine Luxury Consignment recently was a vintage Moschino event. And it was over 200 pieces of vintage Moschino from the 80s and the 90s that I had curated from sources all around the world for about 7-8 months. I had gathered everything, and that's a whole other story about how and why that happened. But what happened is we were hashtagging vintage Moschino and the event that was coming up. We had a professional invitation made that we were posting on Instagram, and someone saw it. And the person who saw it was a major stylist who was working with an artist, and one of their assistants emailed me and basically said, "Hey, do you have any vintage Moschino? We have this person we're working with, this artist, and they're going to be attending an event related to Moschino, and we thought you might have some options for us." So I thought, well, that's really interesting because they found me on Instagram. So what I did was take images of a number of the items, probably 20, 30 items that I had vintage Moschino, to kind of give them an idea of the vast amount of inventory that I had. And it really intrigued them so much that they sent someone out the next day to meet me at the store, and took a number of options with them to present to the person. As they do, they have like a rack or two that are options when they're fitting someone, and we had a number of things in that fitting. Well, as it turns out, they picked our outfit. So turns out that there's a young woman named Justine Skye, and she is a model and also a singer. She's been to a number of red carpet events. She's signed a record label, and she was attending the LA Resort Spring Fashion Show for 2019 for Moschino. And they were looking for archive pieces for her to potentially wear to that event. And the archive Moschino pieces that I had made the cut. So she wore a suit, a vintage Moschino suit, wildly colorful with images of Rome and faces and all kinds of wonderful things on it. She also wore a pair of vintage clip-on Moschino earrings. It had an exclamation point on one earring and a question mark on the other. And she also wore used a red leather vintage Moschino handbag. So we provided that wardrobe to her through her stylist. And what happened was she was front row at the fashion show. And if you Google this fashion show at all, you'll see this young woman next to Kris Jenner and a number of other celebrities. So that's the power of Instagram, is one hashtag, Vintage Moschino, or maybe 3 hashtags. I did Vintage Moschino and Vintage Moschino. Brought a major stylist to me. We got their attention. They found an amazing outfit, and it looked fantastic on her. So that happened. That's the power of Instagram. So now I have that new relationship with that stylist, and they know about this really large quantity of Moschino that I have that'll work for, a lot of other events going forward. So yeah, that is pretty powerful, and I could not be happier about that. If you go to Justine's page on Instagram, Justine Sky, you'll see a couple of images of her at this party. They've got it set up where there's a first image and then you kind of scroll and there's several behind her, behind the first image, and you can see her in this beautiful multicolored outfit, and there's an image of her and Jeremy Scott where he's obviously being, admiring her outfit, her with some circus clowns, and she's just a beautiful young woman, and this outfit definitely helped make a beautiful woman shine even brighter. So very, very excited about that, and that is the power of Instagram. So, whether you're hashtagging the brands that you have available, something as simple as hashtagging for sale, it's really powerful now, and it just keeps growing and growing. And I didn't do a lot with Instagram in the early days like so many people have, and I'm really, really new to using it, but all I can say is it's absolutely effective. So we'll have positive, reverberations from that usage of it for a long time to come. And I just think it's a great example of the power of Instagram. So that's it for right now. I think that that's enough kind of information to get you started on social media. I encourage you to get involved in that. If you have not already set up your social media on all of the platforms that you can think of and the online directories, I highly encourage you to do that. As a brand new business, it's going to be a game changer in getting people into your store that may not know about you otherwise, because that is basically where people are today. So that's it. So this is Jennie Walker with Closet Conversations. If you'd like to know more about me or this podcast, you can look us up online. We're on all the social media platforms under Jennie Girls Closet or Walker Viden Luxury Consignment. And thank you for listening.